It's Overwatch League predictions time. Week number 3 of Stage 1. And like I said before, we've been completely even so far. So looking to start to get some wins flowing, get some 3-1s, 4-0s. I think today is a good place to start with it. I'm going to be more concise and a bit quicker in these. A little bit of feedback that I've gotten is that it can feel kind of drawn out and kind of random, so I'm going to be a little bit more precise, a little more just fast in my predictions. I don't even think I'll go through maps today. See how it goes. Just talk about like one key thing, then who's going to win. So, starting off, it's the Washington Justice, Philadelphia Fusion. Washington, they're 0-2, still looking for that first win. Philly is 2-2, coming off a rough week. I'm not positive if Boombox will be back and available to them. Either way, I still like Philly in this matchup. Their GOATS, I think, is a little bit better than Washington. Their talent overall is a bit better than Washington. They are more prepared in general, although we've seen them play down to lesser opponents. So I think Washington will keep this one close. They didn't get blown out in either of their first two, so I say they keep it. They keep it very competitive. Philly wins it 2-1 with the tie. Second, we got Seoul Dynasty taking on Boston Uprising. So Boston, rumor is it that they might be able to use Mr. Fusions once again on main tank. I think that'll definitely help them. They looked much better with him in. That's how they did get their one win of the season. Seoul looking pretty solid coming into this at 2-1. Did have a loss to Dallas, but they looked good in their last matchup. They they didn't. They played Chengdu, and Chengdu was using their wrecking ball strats, and Seoul was like, "Well, we know Goats is a better comp, so we're just gonna play Goats and kind of crush you," and they did. So they're at 2-1. I really like them in this matchup. No upset here either. Especially if Fusions is in, I think Boston keeps it close. But Fusions isn't the. He's not the Reinhardt. He's a good Reinhardt. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the Reinhardt that Fissure is. That's kind of. I feel like that'll be the key. To see who has the advantage in that Ryan matchup, and I think that Seoul's team around them will boost Fissure up, so he will win that matchup, and Seoul will win this match 3-1. Moving on, Florida Guangzhou. So Florida sitting at 1-2, Guangzhou also sitting at 1-2. Although if you've watched these teams, I think that the Charge are looking a lot stronger. I mean, they barely lost to the Titans, they barely lost to the Hunters for their two losses. Florida was able to beat Philadelphia, but a little bit of a fluke. Also, Philadelphia was using a main support player on Zenyatta. Um, so I like Guangzhou in this one. I think that the key is going to be how does Guangzhou play against the Mayhem Sombra? When we've seen Florida have success, a lot of times it's with BQB's Sombra play. He really opens it up. He had an absolutely insane amount of hacks in their last couple of matches. That's been one of their big success factors. I think that Guangzhou will have film on them, though. They will be prepared for this strategy. They'll be coordinated enough to kind of withstand the Sombra. Maybe we might see them. A popular strategy is using that Ana to get nice anti-nades and win the frontline matchups between the Ryans and the Divas, or and the Zarya's, I should say, not the Divas. So I like Guangzhou in this one. I think that they're a better team overall, and they're going to be a bit more prepared than Florida is. And I'd say another 3-1 on this one. And then, in my opinion, the most interesting match of today, it's San Francisco Shock and Hangzhou Spark. So the Spark looked really good week one. They look really bad week two. They're sitting at 2-2. San Fran is sitting at 1-2. They crushed Dallas, but then have since lost to Vancouver and LA Gladiators. So both of these teams, this is kind of a. I feel like this is essentially a stage elimination game. I think whoever loses this game will not make the stage playoffs, and whoever wins has a pretty solid chance. Because with the 7 games in this stage, you're looking at 4, and you can't do worse than 4-3 and make it. And maybe a couple teams might go 4-3 and miss because of map differential barely. So, very important matchup. Two very solid teams. This one is definitely the hardest one for me because Hangzhou, you don't really like I don't have a great feel for this team yet. I think the key is, can San Francisco protect their front line? When we've seen the Shock struggle against the Gladiators, against the Titans, it was a lot of times the same problem: either Super or Sinatra getting isolated, being too far forward, being punished for it. And will Hanjo be able to pull this off? I think probably. Um, Sinatra, a lot of times, if they're defending, the Shock like to put him up top on high ground to rain down right clicks from his or left clicks from his no, that is, I'm stupid. Don't mind me. Um, he's able to put down a ton of damage from the high ground, but especially in their last matchup, Vancouver was able to kind of take advantage of this and kind of isolate Sinatra from his team because he is a little bit away from them when he's on that elevated high ground. So, what does this mean for this matchup? I think that I think that Hangzhou is going to come out and play a lot better than they did last week. I like their goats a little more than San Francisco. Um, But I think that in terms of like just ability and cohesion, San Francisco's still a little bit ahead. So I've gone back and forth with this one, but I'm gonna say Shock in five. At first I was leaning Hanjo, but then when I started to think about like the makeups of these teams and what kind of different comps they pull in different maps, I just like the Shock's talent a little bit more, and I think that'll give them the edge. And after two losses, I think they're going to be really, really ready and prepared for this matchup. So that's all for today. Moving on to Friday, LA Gladiators, London Spitfire. Again, another one. I went back and forth. I feel like you could pick either one of these teams and not be crazy. Um, I was really leaning Spitfire for a while, but I'm not quite convinced by their last week of play. The Gladiators have lost two matches, but they played them both pretty close. They lost to very good teams, teams that I believe are a lot better at running goats than London. Um, I think Gladiators bounce back here. I think they didn't look like themselves against Paris, and I think that because of that, they're going to have a very good match um, this day. They also had a pretty good amount of history against the Spitfire. That was with Fissure, but they were able to beat them a lot of different times. And while London did look a lot better in their last matchup against Hangzhou, I think that was partially because of Hangzhou looked pretty bad in that matchup. So I think the Gladiators have a slight edge here. I think they take it in five. Also, the Decay will be available for them because he turned 18 yesterday. So he should be able to be eligible. We'll see if he plays at all, and if he does, we'll see if he pops off like he's expected to. Next, we got Toronto Defiant, New York Excel. New York looking very, very good. They've battened down the hatches. Toronto looks very good. I think their potential is really high, but every match they make a couple of mistakes, like per map, and a lot of times in their last match, the Valiant weren't really able to punish that. You saw in their previous matchup against Atlanta, Atlanta really started to take advantage of this in the third and fourth map and converted those into map wins. And I think that it's going to be even easier for Excel to pull this off. They've looked really, really good the last couple weeks. I think their GOATS has really, really been solidified. Nene is kind of my X factor for this one. He's played so well these first four matches. I think um, since signing him up from their XL2 roster, he's played about as well as they could have possibly hoped. The man is a incredibly good Zarya, one of the best out there. And the Zarya from Toronto, Ivy, he makes some big plays, but he also makes some big misplays. And I really like the Nene in that matchup, and as a result, I really like New York. I think this is I think it's a 3-1. I think Toronto will be able to find a map, maybe the first one. Um, Control points have been pretty solid for them, but I think New York does take the series pretty easily. Then we got Vancouver Titans playing Los Angeles Valiant. Valiant still looking for their first win. Vancouver still have not suffered a loss. And while I'm tempted to pick Valiant here, I can't do it. Vancouver looks too good. They look very clean. Fate has been the thing I'm looking at for Valiant. I think he's been out Reinhardted in basically every single match this season. And when you get out Rhined pretty badly, and Bumper is very, very good at Rhine, it's just so hard for your team to win. Kareev's been a bit up and down on Zarya. I'm not totally sold on him, and Agilities doesn't also look super comfortable on Brig. So I think it's a 3-0. I think Valiant will tie a map. They'll manage to tie like the 2 CP. But yeah, I think Vancouver takes this one pretty easily, and Valiant drops to 0-4. I did not think I'd be saying that at the start of this year. And then the final matchup is the Shanghai Dragons and Chengdu Hunters. So Shanghai, yeah, they looked really good in their last matchup and they won, but it was just one match. I I went back and forth with this one, but X Factor, Shanghai has the edge. I think of like a Meng and his incredible Hammond play. I'm like, okay, that could be an X Factor. But for Shanghai, they got Gamsu. Gamsu looked so good last map. Maybe it was just because I'm sure he was a little extra fired up to play against Boston after he was traded from them. But he's such a good main tank. He was so underrated last year on the Winston, on the Reinhardt. And you could tell what kind of stability that he brought this team um, in that last matchup. And yeah, I think that Shanghai will be able to just kind of run goats, kind of like the Dynasty did. And Chengdu, they don't play goats. I just don't think the multi DPS comps with Hammond will be able to pull this one back for them. I could see him taking the control map. And if you're Chengdu, if you get this one to a fifth map, then that's your goal. That's what you're aiming for, and maybe you can take it with your triple DPS or maybe even quad DPS. I don't think it quite gets there. I think Shanghai closes this one out 3-1. So, those are the predictions for today and tomorrow. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know what you think about this new format. I think it might be a little better. People might like this more. It's less rambling. Like I said, more to the point. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Good luck to your teams playing this week. And I'll see you on Saturday. Have a good one.